People love asking one question. What age do most people hit $1 million? They expect a clean answer, a birthday, a milestone, some magic year where everything clicks. But that's not how it works. Because for most people, the real answer is uncomfortable. It's not when, it's if. Pause for a second. If you're 30, you probably feel late. If you're 40, you feel behind. If you're 50, you're doing mental math at 2 a.m. And almost everyone assumes the same thing. I'll figure it out later. That assumption is expensive. Here's the quiet truth. The age you hit $1 million isn't about talent or luck or some secret investment. It's about timing, consistency, and a few decisions most people delay far too long. And here's where it gets interesting. On paper, $1 million sounds abstract. But in real life, it's just income broken into months. $1 million doesn't buy freedom. Cash flow does. At a conservative pace, that number supports roughly $300 a month before taxes, before inflation, before mistakes. So when people say, I just need $1 million, what they're really saying is, I haven't done the math yet. And that's not a criticism. It's normal. Most systems were never designed to teach this clearly. They focus on salaries, not outcomes, balances, not timelines. Quick pause. If this kind of clarity helps you think more calmly about money, subscribe. It helps this reach people who need it. Now here's the promise. By the end of this, you'll know 3 things most people never connect. The average age people actually reach $1 million. Why that number is misleading on its own, and what really matters more than hitting it early. Because the goal isn't to chase a number, it's to understand the path. And the path most people are on leads somewhere very different than they expect. The path most people expect starts with a straight line. Study, work, save, invest, hit $1 million somewhere in midlife. Clean, logical, comforting. But reality doesn't move in straight lines. Here's the first belief that quietly breaks things. Income grows steadily. It doesn't. For most people, income is flat for years, then jumps, then stalls again. That matters because time does the heavy lifting, not effort. If someone invests $500 a month starting at 25, by 65, that's roughly $240,000 contributed, but with average market growth, that can quietly turn into over $1 million. Same $500 every month. Nothing heroic, just consistent. Now shift that start to age 35. Same contribution, same market. The ending balance drops by hundreds of thousands, not because they were careless, because they started 10 years later. And this is where the mental trap appears. Most people assume they'll catch up later when they earn more, but later is expensive. Every delayed year doesn't just reduce returns, it increases pressure. You're not just missing growth, you're compressing your timeline, which means you need to contribute more, take more risk, or accept less. Those aren't great options, and most people never consciously choose one. They just drift into whichever feels least painful in the moment. Here's the second belief. Hitting $1 million means you're rich. On paper, yes. In lifestyle terms, not always. Remember that $3,300 a month? That's not luxury. That's stability. Enough to breathe, not enough to ignore reality. Which explains something strange. Many people who reach $1 million don't feel rich at all because they hit it late, when expenses are higher, when health costs appear, when time feels scarce. They spent decades imagining what $1 million would feel like, and when they finally get there, it doesn't match the fantasy. Not because the money isn't real, because the life around it has changed. The $1 million they needed at 40 isn't the same $1 million they have at 60. Inflation happened, healthcare happened, life happened, and this leads to the third belief. If I haven't hit it by 40 or 50, it's over. That one is simply false. We'll get there. But first, notice the pattern. The problem isn't ability, it's sequencing. Most people don't fail financially. They drift, they save inconsistently, they wait for motivation, they confuse income spikes with progress, and then they ask the wrong question. What age do people hit $1 million? Instead of, what behaviors make it inevitable? That shift matters more than a decade of returns, because once you see the pattern, the age stops being the headline, and the data starts telling a very different story. That pattern leads us to the data, and the data is humbling. Most people who ever reach $1 million don't do it in their 30s or their 40s. The median age is closer to the late 50s, some even later, which immediately reframes the story. It's not a young person's game, it's a patience game. Now here's the part people miss. Those who hit $1 million earlier aren't radically smarter, they're structurally different. They don't wait for confidence. They automate. They don't optimize returns. They protect consistency. Think about it monthly. Someone investing $800 a month for 35 years builds more wealth than someone investing $2,000 a month for 15. Not because the second person failed, because compounding rewards endurance, not intensity. This is the psychological turn. Most people treat investing like a sprint. Short bursts of effort, long pauses of distraction. The people who cross seven figures treat it like gravity. Quiet, unavoidable, always on. No negotiation, no motivation required. The money moves before they can think about it. And here's the uncomfortable comparison. Two people earn similar incomes. One increases lifestyle every raise. The other increases contributions first. Same paycheck, very different future. That gap doesn't show up early. It appears suddenly. One day you look up and realize one person is coasting, and the other is calculating how many years they can't afford to stop. This is why age alone is misleading. A 35-year-old with habits locked in is ahead of a 45-year-old still negotiating with themselves. And a 55-year-old who finally commits isn't doomed. They're just late to compounding. Late still works. Late just requires realism. You can't start at 55 and retire at 60 with $1 million unless you're contributing massive amounts. But you can start at 55 and retire at 70 with security. That's not failure. That's math. The real enemy here isn't age, it's friction. Friction between intention and action, between knowing and doing. Once that friction disappears, progress feels boring, and boring is powerful. That's when the number stops feeling distant, not because you chase it harder, but because the system stops leaking, and that's the moment most people never recognize, until it's too late, or just in time. That moment is the real divide, not the age you hit 1 million, but the age you stop negotiating with yourself. Because here's what actually happens for people who get there. They don't wake up one day and decide to be disciplined. They wake up one day and decide the current path isn't working. Maybe they're 32 and tired of watching their account balance stay flat. Maybe they're 48 and realize retirement isn't some distant concept anymore. Maybe they're 55 and a health scare makes time feel real. Whatever the trigger, something shifts, and the negotiation ends. Not perfectly, not permanently, but enough. Enough to automate contributions. Enough to stop cashing out retirement accounts during job changes. Enough to treat the investment account like a bill that has to be paid. That's the unlock. Treating future you like a creditor who doesn't negotiate. Most people treat retirement contributions like optional spending, something they'll do if there's money left over. But there's never money left over. Expenses expand to fill income. That's Parkinson's law applied to personal finance. The people who hit $1 million treat contributions like rent, non-negotiable, due on the first, paid before discretionary spending gets a vote, and once that flip happens, the timeline compresses, not because the market suddenly cooperates, because behavior finally aligns with stated goals. Here's another uncomfortable truth. Most people who say they want to hit $1 million don't actually behave like it. They say it, they think about it, they worry about it. But when it's time to choose between contributing an extra $200 a month and upgrading the car wins. When it's time to choose between maxing the 401k and taking a nicer vacation, the vacation wins. And there's no judgment in that. Those are real trade-offs. Life is happening now. Retirement is theoretical, but those choices have consequences. And the consequence is usually hitting $1 million later, or not at all. The people who hit it earlier made different trade-offs. Not better. Not morally superior, just different. They chose the boring car, the smaller house, the cheaper vacation, not because they were disciplined, because they decided early that future optionality mattered more than present upgrades. That's not a personality trait. It's a decision anyone can make, at any age. So where does that leave you? If you're in your 20s or early 30s, you have the most valuable asset, time. You don't need to contribute massive amounts. You need to contribute consistently. Even $300 a month from 25 to 65 becomes over $500,000. Add employer matches and reasonable market returns, and you're there. But only if you start. And only if you stay. If you're in your late 30s or 40s, you're not behind. You're normal. Most millionaires hit it in their 50s, remember? But normal also means you can't coast. You need to increase contributions as income grows. You need to avoid lifestyle inflation. You need to protect consistency. The math still works. It just requires more intention. If you're in your 50s or beyond, you're not out of time, but you are out of room for drift. Every year matters now. Catch-up contributions exist for a reason. Working a few extra years dramatically changes the outcome. Reducing expenses creates immediate breathing room. And honestly, a 58-year-old who commits and works to 68 with consistent contributions can still build substantial wealth. It won't be $1 million in retirement accounts, but it might be $400,000 or $500,000. Paired with Social Security, that's security. The trap at every age is the same. Waiting for perfect conditions, waiting for the raise, waiting for the debt to clear, waiting for motivation, waiting for the market to feel safe. But perfect never arrives, and waiting is just another word for drifting. The people who hit $1 million don't wait. They start messy, they start small, they start scared, but they start, and then they stay. Here's the quiet ending to this story. Most people who reach $1 million don't notice the day it happens. There's no celebration, no fireworks, just another statement. Why? Because by the time it arrives, the behavior is already baked in. The contributions are automated. The lifestyle is stable. The accounts just grew while they lived their lives. And that's the real lesson. You don't need to be early. You need to be consistent longer than feels comfortable. Whether you're 25, 35, or 55, the same rule applies. Money doesn't respond to urgency. It responds to repetition. A few hundred a month protected from lifestyle creep compounds into optionality, not fantasy, not luxury, control. The control to work less, to say no more often, to choose time over upgrades. And that's the part most headlines ignore. $1 million isn't a finish line. It's a side effect. A side effect of clear priorities repeated quietly over decades. So what's the answer? What age do most people hit $1 million? Late 50s, sometimes early 60s, sometimes never. But the better question is, what age do you stop negotiating with yourself and commit to the process? Because that's the age that actually matters. That's the age where the timeline starts, not the day you were born, the day you decided the future was worth protecting. If you remember one thing, make it this. The best age to start was years ago. The second best age is the one where friction ends. If this reframed how you think about wealth and timing, subscribe. This channel stays focused on clarity, not hype. Because real wealth isn't loud. It's quiet, boring, and extremely effective. Drop a comment if you're committing to consistency, regardless of your age. Let's build this together.